Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Dan Podolsky, and I'm joined once again with Cody, the Spartan Stamann. He's set to return at UFC 283 in Brazil when he takes on Luan Lacerda. Cody, thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course, brother. Just finished up some training, so yeah, still got all my teeth, no black eyes, no cuts, so I'm fucking having a good day.
No, I love that. And talking about it sounds like training's going well. And how did this fight with Luan Lacerda specifically come together?
Literally Thanksgiving Day. I got a call, like I was about to stuff my face. Got a call, literally Thanksgiving Day, and they're like, "Hey, you want to fight in 8 weeks?" And I'm like, I just like put my food down, and I was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Who is it?" And they're like, it's in Brazil. I'm like, "Fuck." All right, whatever, you know what I mean? I didn't have a clue who he was, you know what I mean? So, I'm kind of at a point in my career where it's like, I don't really give a shit who you are, you know what I mean? Like, let's run it.
Does it add any motivation to you going into Brazil? He's obviously the Brazilian, the crowd's gonna be on his side, but does that add any motivation for you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Brazil as a fucking Viking, dude. I'm gonna pillage. That's kind of my mindset going there. Is like I'm going there to like conquer those people and leave with a bag of money and just get the hell out of there. Like that's my mindset going into it, because I've been down there before. So, dude, I know how ruthless they are. Like screaming, "We're gonna kill you," or "You're gonna die," like all this crazy shit. Like throwing beer on you, like throwing beer cans at you. Like they're ruthless, dude. It's a different environment, but I'm glad that, you know what I mean, I've experienced it, so I kind of have a good idea like what the fans are gonna be like down there.
Are you gonna play the heel a little bit, or are you gonna play into it? What are you thinking?
I don't know, man. I guess it really depends on how awful they are to me. You know what I mean? Like if they're respectful, at least relatively respectful, I probably won't. But you know what I mean? But if the crowd starts yelling like "Boo Bumble Heyday," like "You're gonna die" and like that kind of stuff, oh, 100%, I'm gonna fucking turn into Kobe Covington out there. Like I'll be fucking flipping everybody off, and hopefully, maybe I get a emergency flight out of there first class. We'll see.
So, because let me ask you, because you're, Cody Stamann, that's a pretty considerable name in the bantamweight division. You've been around for a while, and this is a fight. Absolutely no disrespect to Luan Lacerda, but he's making his UFC debut. Do you feel a little bit disrespected and almost overlooked a little bit?
No, I think they're pretty high on this kid. You know what I mean? Like I think they're pretty high on him. I think his jiu-jitsu is really, really good. So I think he's a problem. I think he's got like 12 wins, 10 of them are by submission. You know what I mean? So like obviously the kid like is super good, super talented on the ground. He was Jose Aldo's training partner for a long time. I just don't think that they were going to put him against, another like 1-0, 2-0 guy, because I think he kind of is on a little bit higher level than that. But with that being said, like I fought the fucking best in the world. You know what I mean? I've made all the mistakes in the cage in the UFC that a man can make. So in my eyes, it's like he's got to show up and fight me. Like I know what that first UFC fight feels like, and it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. It's nothing like you've ever done before, So like in front of his hometown crowd, first UFC fight, fighting a guy with 11 UFC fights, like that's a tall task. Like I honestly kind of feel bad for this, because this is like his opportunity, this kid's moment, and I'm gonna go down to Brazil and absolutely shit on it. Like it's gonna be a fucking horrible time for him. And and in a few ways I feel bad, but like this is the fight game. Like it's nothing personal, dude. It just it's gonna be a fucking rough night.
Yeah. No, hey, first off, all of the comments, and B, it's not to take anything away from Lacerda. They're obviously clearly high on him if they're matching up with you in the first fight. It's more just like to the common fan. He's going to be making his debut. I'm sure he's a bigger name in Brazil, but right now he isn't that name. How does that compare to your last fight where you're fighting Eddie Wineland, who's someone who WEC champion, was a big name, but was on the way out? That turned out to be his retirement fight.
Yeah, it's strange. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there was not many. There was a couple guys that I thought honestly I was going to get either Nurmagomedov or Raoni Barcelos. I really thought I was going to get Barcelos in Brazil. Like I was kind of planning on like going to Brazil anyways. I thought like those are two guys that I could potentially fight. They both are. Barcelos is probably the best Brazilian at bantamweight right now. And obviously Nurmagomedov, like, you don't even, you know what that dude's about. Yeah, I thought I was gonna fight when I go. As soon as those guys got matched up, I'm like, I don't have a fucking clue who I'm gonna fight. Like, I really don't know. Like, there was rumors that I, was maybe gonna fight Cody Garbrandt, but Garbrandt and I are friends. We train together, so like that wasn't gonna happen. And I'm like, dude, I have no idea who I'm gonna fight. And I think this was just like the first fight that like came up, you know what I mean? And my management probably jumped on it because I've been on him every week for like the last 6 months. Like, please get me a fight. Please get me a fight. I'll fight anybody. Just tell me, you know what I mean? Like, I'm ready to go. I want to fight. So like, as dangerous as it is to go and like fight a Brazilian in Brazil, especially a guy making his debut, like, I know what I'm about. You know what I mean? I know what I'm about in the cage. And like I said earlier, like, I've made the mistakes. Like, I've fought poorly against guys that, that I can beat. I've been caught, I've done all these things in the UFC. It's been a fucking roller coaster ride. And now I'm at a point where it's like, there's nothing that I can do that like really scares me. Like, I got choked out in 40 seconds on pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Like, you can't fucking hurt me any worse than that. Like, I'm not fucking scared of anything that anyone brings to the cage because I fought the champ. I fought the number one guy in the world. Like, I don't give a shit anymore. You know what I mean? And like, ultimately, like, there's only a handful of guys on this fucking planet that can beat me in the cage, and Luan Lacerda isn't one of them. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the reality. Like, so like going to Brazil and fighting a Brazilian that I'm fucking better than in every aspect besides jiu-jitsu, like, let's go.
So let me ask you about the strength of schedule, because I feel like a lot of people overlook you a lot, and we really look at your losses. Aljamain Sterling, champion; Merab Dvalishvili, number one or number two contender; Said Nurmagomedov, I think Jimmy Rivera, and then the draw to Song Yadong. But that's a strong list of strength of schedule for someone like yourself who's just outside the top 15. And do you feel like you get forgotten a lot of the times? Because when I'm looking at it, I feel like you're someone who is definitely a top 10 sort of talent at the bantamweight, arguably could get into the top five in the contention, but your losses are all to the number, the champion, the number one, and Nurmagomedov, the top guys.
Yeah. I mean, so like right now, honestly, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm 100% okay with not being in that mix. Like, the thing is like, I don't want to be because I was in the top 10 for like over a year. I was in the top 15 for like 2 years. Like, that just means like you have to fight the absolute fucking best guys in the world, like, no matter what. Like, you're not getting any gimme fights. Like, they're not giving number fucking 8 in the world, some fucking random guy in Brazil. Like, that shit ain't happening, and I shot up. Like, I was in the top 10 in less than a year. Like, so like, I went from fighting on the regional scene to fighting the best guys in the world at bantamweight. You know what I mean? Like, I fought Aljamain Sterling my 4th UFC fight. You know what I mean? Like, that is not an easy task. And like, I thought at the time, like, 100%, I'm ready. I can fucking beat anyone. But I'd never even seen like the highest level of MMA. I'd never trained with anyone that was that good. You know what I mean? So I had no idea what the hell I was getting myself into. And ultimately, like, I look back at every single fight I've ever lost. Like, I've lost because I've made mistakes. You know what I mean? I didn't follow a game plan. Like, I got caught. Like, I made mistakes. I wasn't in good shape. Like, Jimmy Rivera fight. Like, I have a hard time even like looking back and like watching that fight, because like, I got that call on 5 days notice. I hadn't trained in months. Like, that was a stupid fucking mistake. And like, every single fight, like, no one gives a shit about your excuses, but like, when you have 15 minutes or less to like prove your worth as an athlete, like, you can't make mistakes. And like, I've made mistakes, and like, I was relatively perfect throughout my career before dropping 4 fights in the UFC. Like, I really never actually lost in like 40 fights, so I hadn't made the mistakes that I needed to make to fucking level up as an athlete. And I have. And now I look at like every single dude in the division, and I'm like, there's a way for me to beat this guy. You know what I mean? Like, I can wrestle, I can defensively wrestle, I have throw fucking hard punches, hard kicks. Like, I'm athletic. I can fucking do it. You know what I mean? Like, I know that I can beat anyone. I know what it's like to be in there with the best. So, I just like every single fucking opportunity. Like, I'm gonna absolutely manhandle this Luan Lacerda kid. Like he has no fucking idea what he's getting into. And ultimately, like, after I fucking absolutely bust this kid to hell, like, I don't know that I'm gonna like try to run up to the top 15. I might try to get one more fight and then call out someone in the top 10. You know what I mean? Because like when I make my run back to the top, like I want it to be like I want to fight number freaking 6 in the world. I want to fight number 2 in the world, and then I want to sit there and wait for a shot. You know what I mean? Or fight number 2, because there's no point in hanging out in the top 15 just to be ranked. You know, it's not like a fun place to hang out. It's murderer's row.
So you would say would you prefer the position I guess you're in now where you're outside the top 15? This gives you more opportunities to take fights with, and no disrespect to Luan Lacerda, a guy who is unproven still, versus when you're just at the bottom of the top 15, you're getting matched up with someone like Said Nurmagomedov, who was at the time outside the top 15, but clearly going to be a top contender in that division.
Yeah. No, I'd much rather be where I am now. You know, like being in such a hurry to get in the rankings, you know, like when I got in the UFC, I was like, I'll be in the top 10 in a year. I did that. And like, I didn't have any like real goals after that. I didn't think that like I was actually going to be a UFC champion. And now I look at it and I think about like all the fights I've had. And I'm like, dude, I 100% like I make a few tweaks here and there, you know what I mean? And I dedicate a little bit more time to my technique. And, you know, I can run I shave a minute off my mile time. Like I'm in contention and can compete with anyone in the division. You know what I mean? Like there's I know what I have now. You know, I know that what I have is enough to make shit happen. I just got to make it happen in the cage. And so I would much rather be where I am right now, take out Lacerda, take out maybe one other guy outside the top 15. And then I'm going to go for, you know what I mean? I want to fight a guy in the top 5. And like, I have the resume to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go like fight number 10 or number 12. Like, I'm going to literally I'm trying to skip the line. I'm going to try to fucking Sean O'Malley it. You know what I mean? I'm going to try to skip the line and go right to the top instead of just wasting time and like, you know, fighting from that 10 to 15 range where all those guys are super, super, super tough. And, you know, it's just the next group of like killers. I want to skip all that. You know what I mean? I've already fought the tough guys. I want to fight the tough guys when it really means something.
And I know the name that's most important to you right now is Luan Lacerda, but besides him, is there anyone, you know, in the top 10, top 15 who stands out to you as someone like, I really want to fight this guy?
Ooh, that's tough. You know, like the fights I really, really wanted and the fights I've like been begging for, I wanted to fight Frankie Edgar so bad. And not for any other reason than like he is my favorite fighter. Like I love Frankie Edgar. I've loved him since I watched him fight, you know, for the lightweight championship. Like I love Frankie Edgar. He was like one of those guys that kind of inspired me. I'm like, this dude is my size. He's tough as fuck. He never gets tired. You can't put him away. Like he's just a bad motherfucker. You know what I mean? And like it's like that saying, you know, you work so hard, you know, your idols become your rivals. And like I wanted that with Frankie. Like I'm like, dude, I'm here. I could fight Frankie Edgar. I want the opportunity. And I begged for it and it didn't happen. And then I was like, well, if I can't get Frankie, maybe I can get Aldo. You know what I mean? And I thought maybe like Aldo might fight again in Rio. And like basically, you know, my manager was like, dude, that fight could happen. You know what I mean? If Aldo doesn't retire and then Aldo retires. You know, so those were 2 fights that I absolutely like, guys that I grew up watching that I loved and respected. Like I wanted to share the cage with them. And I never got the opportunity. So now, I mean, and then you got Pillashaw, like he's gone. Like those were like 3 like guys that I really wanted to fight that I'm never going to get the opportunity to fight now. So, I mean, now I don't even give a fuck like any of them. You know what I mean? Like if he's got a big name, and you know, I'm a fucking 4 or 5 to 1 underdog. That's the guy I want to fight.
Got to throw out a name that's Dom Cruz because he's another, you know, former champion in that division.
Oh, Dom Cruz. Yeah, the problem with the Dom Cruz fight is like he's such a weirdo. You know what I mean? Like the way he fights is so fucking strange. He was never a guy that I was like, damn, I really want to fight Dom Cruz because it's such an ugly fight no matter what. You know, I definitely think I could whoop Dom Cruz like in a fight. But also like I have a hard time saying that because he commentates half my fights. So I'm like, I don't want to say anything too mean with Dom because I'm like, next time he gets on the microphone, he's gonna be shitting on me the whole time. So like I usually keep Dom's name out of my mouth.
No, I respect that. And then, so I just want to move on to you're at Xtreme Couture.
Mhm.
First off, champion Francis Ngannou, he's there. He's defended his belt on the same card he fought as last year. What does that do for the gym just as a whole, seeing a champion there and him defending his belt?
Yeah, dude, Francis is such a low key cool fucking dude. Like he's so relaxed. Like you would not guess that he's like the killer that he is. Like I do strength conditioning with him at the PI, and like we're literally constantly always fucking with each other. Like I'm always like bowing up to him, like, Francis, what if I just whooped your ass today? You know what I mean? He's like, man, like he like pats me on the head. He's a scary fucking human. He's a big, scary dude, but he's super relaxed and like he carries himself like a champion should. You know what I mean? He says hi to everyone. He's a nice guy. He doesn't ever put anyone off. He's a good dude, and it's cool. It's cool to be around him. I feel like people don't talk about Francis enough. You know what I mean? Francis could be like this polarizing asshole, but he's not. He's like pretty low key, like nice guy. People like he's very approachable. He's a nice dude, and he's like what a champion should be. Especially in a time when everyone's trying to be the fucking heel of the generation because they know that's what gets him paid. Like Francis is doing it the right way, and I got a lot of respect for him.
And let me ask you, because Francis Ngannou is someone where when he won the belt, someone who I think could have been one of the biggest stars in the sports. And it's not to say he still can't. I think he's on his way there. He's been slowed down, obviously, by the knee injury. But in looking at the situation with him and Dana White, and just with fighter pay in general, what are your thoughts on all that?
Well, I think any line of work, like if you ask a plumbers union or a steel workers union, do you guys think you get paid enough? Like every single line of work is going to be like, no, I think we should make a little more. You know what I mean? Like that's the same thing with MMA. Like we all want more money, right? I mean, it's obvious. Like, am I going to say that like I am, anti-fighters getting paid more money? That's just not the truth. But I am thankful for the money I do make in the UFC. Because there's a lot of like avenues outside of the UFC. The UFC is like the staple of MMA. So there's a lot of, you know what I mean? Like once you fought in the UFC as much as I have, you can pretty much go anywhere. Like you can get a job in any promotion. You know what I mean? Like people know who you are. There's a lot of things that come with being a UFC fighter that's awesome. So like 100% we should get paid more. But like, am I going to be the guy that's like fucking raising my hand? Like, hey, I want more money. I want more money. No, like ultimately, like I'm happy with the money that I make. Of course I'd want to make more, but the UFC spends incredible amounts of money to like promote their fights and everything else, like everything that they do for us outside of the actual show. Like look at like there's like Bellator events and PFL events and like other events that like I don't even know are happening because like they didn't spend the marketing money to like make it happen. And like yeah, they pay their fighters more, but like you want eyes on you when you're getting in the cage, you know what I mean? And that's like when you fight in the UFC, like there's people watching, you know what I mean? Like that every single diehard MMA fan is like glued to the TV at that time, So like the UFC is the pinnacle of MMA. So I'll take a little bit less money to for people to know who I am, you know what I mean, as an athlete and get to watch my fights.
It's fair. And then just one last thing, going back to Ngannou. Do you have any intel on when you think you would see him next back in the cage?
I mean, he's training. He's in the gym training. He was sparring last week. I was watching him freaking manhandle Chris Curtis. It was like fucked up. Like took him down and was like just like stretched him out, like putting him in all these fucked up positions. Yeah. So he's been training hard. I know his knees like in pretty good shape. Like I think it's just about like, you don't want to just like, hey, as soon as you're healthy, hey, sign a fight. Like it takes a little bit of time to like kind of get back in the groove and, get comfortable with everything. It takes a long time to like prepare for a fight. And that's something that people don't understand. So, I would guess, before June, I bet he would fight. I think he probably needs like 2 months to just kind of adjust and get used to training, and then another 2 months to get ready for a fight. And I think he'll fight for sure, like once or twice this year.
I think all UFC fans would love to see Francis back in the cage. He's such a obviously you can speak to it. Like carries himself as a champion, is one of the most fun guys to watch. And just the one hypothetical matchup. Let's say he fights John Jones. Who do you think wins that fight?
Well, it's like a Mike Tyson fight, right? Like Mike Tyson could be fighting someone that like technically might be like more skilled than them, but like all it takes is one shot. You know what I mean? Francis has got to hit you with a fucking jab and your lights are turned off. So the longer that fight goes, the more opportunities Francis has to like hurt John Jones, and like John Jones, like for me, like John Jones doesn't really exist anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's been so long since he fought. Like he was the greatest, and then he just like shit on his own shoe and like fucked himself. Yeah. And now he's kind of irrelevant. Like I think John Jones shouldn't fight Francis first. I think John Jones should have to fight somebody else at heavyweight. You know what I mean? Fight Surreal Gone or somebody, you know what I mean, for like interim fight. And then, winner fights Francis or Francis fights someone completely different, I don't know. I feel like John has to like build his name up again. Maybe not. Maybe that's the fight they make, but like everyone wants to see fucking heavyweights fight. You know what I mean? Like let's do an interim title and then let's let the winner take on Francis.
Yes, I would love to see maybe in March or April John Jones versus Stipe Miocic, and then the winner fights Ngannou, gives him more time to heal. But I'm just a reporter, and you're just the fighter. But let's see what happens. And one last guy at Xtreme Couture I'll ask you about, and that's Dan Ige taking on Damon Jackson. Is he someone you've gotten to train with? And what are your thoughts on his fight?
Dan and I are really close, man. And Dan right now is like a fucking killing machine. Like we grappled yesterday, and like I went with like some really, really tough guys, and like everyone was like giving me really, really hard rounds, but like Dan was just on one yesterday, and like he's just geared up for this fight. You can just tell that like he's very focused. Everything that's happening around him, like you can tell when a guy's like really zoned into a fight because there's 9 conversations going on around him, and like he's just focused on like what he has to do. So I haven't seen Dan like this since he fought probably Edson Barbosa. But yeah, Dan's a good friend and training partner of mine, and yeah, he's really on. Like he was sparring today, like he looked really, really good. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that fight, man. People sleep on Dan Ige, but that dude he's a killer, man. He's bad news, and he's got like bricks in his hands. So I think if he just like lets his hands go, like he's gonna hurt somebody.
Yeah, tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like you guys are in sort of similar spots in your careers where being a top 10 fighter, but maybe had some losses to some top contenders, and I would say getting overlooked. And then just one other
because we're both nice guys. We're just nice guys. You know what I mean? Like Dan goes home and like takes care of his family. Like when you meet Dan Ige, he's just a fucking nice guy. You know what I mean? He's like a normal human. He's just a nice dude. He's a nice guy. He's a little bit quiet, but he's funny. Like when you like get to know him as a person, like he's actually fucking hilarious. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm kind of the same way. Like I don't share every single fucking. I'm not like sitting on the toilet like, hey, here I am, Instagram, check me out. Like I like keep to myself. I take care of my family. I'm good to my friends, and like that shit doesn't sell. You know what I mean? Like I'm not out here like fuck this person, fuck all these people. I'm just like a fucking backwoods hillbilly that happens to be really good at MMA. And Dan's just like a really nice island boy that fucking likes to scrap. And like instead of promoting guys like us who are just like decent human beings, they promote some fucking asshole clown that's got purple hair, so I don't see that changing anytime soon. So I mean, there's no point in me bitching about it.
Yeah, and then one other thing I want to ask you, unfortunate news, Stephan Bonner passed away, and he's obviously someone who trained at Xtreme Couture for a while. Is he someone who, you got to train with, had a relationship with, and how has that affected sort of the gym as a whole?
I didn't know him personally. But I know a lot of the OGs, the guys that have been around for a really long time, were really torn up about it. Actually, like a lot of the guys that like came up with Stefan haven't been in the gym like since it happened. I think he had a lot of influence on a lot of people that trained out here, and those people are taking it pretty hard. It's a terrible thing. You hate to see someone go like at that age. You know what I mean? Like it's tough. You didn't really. It's one thing when someone's 8 years old and they pass away, but at 45, that's a tough pill to swallow. So I wish his family nothing but the best.
Yeah, fair enough. And I hate having to end sort of the interview on a down note like that, but just final thoughts. Give me your official prediction. January 21st, Luan Lacerda versus Cody Stamann. What's gonna happen?
Second round, that motherfucker's face down for sure.
Fair enough. I'd love to see it. And Cody, thank you so much for taking the time, guys. Cody returns to the octagon in Brazil at UFC 283 when he takes on Luan Lacerda. Cody, thank you so much for taking the time.